You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
This has turned into one heck of a bear to record this week's 186th episode of the Show Before the Show podcast. But here we are, 3 strikes starting in a moment. Tyler Mon, Sam Dykstra. Hello, Sam.
Hello. Everybody's joining us like in media res and they don't know it, which is always fun. Like for you listening at home or in your car or at work or wherever, thank you for joining us. But you also, like, this is the start of the show for you.
Coming in
and
midstream.
Yeah, for us it's the third segment that we've recorded today.
Third segment that you've recorded today.
That's true. That's true. It's a very Sam heavy episode. If that's not your thing, I apologize. And if you clear the episode out of your feed right now, I get it. But no, there's a lot of good stuff to look forward to. Cole Tucker interview was a lot of fun. If you don't know by the title of the episode, Cole Tucker, Pirates prospect, is our guest this week. Had a fun discussion with Ben about the Rocky Mountain vibes, the new Colorado Springs identity. So fun stuff to look forward to at the end. But yeah, it's been a little bit of a bear getting to this point, would you say, Tyler?
I'm very annoyed. Pirates number 5 prospect, by the way, as Sam noted, Cole Tucker will be on the show here coming up in a little bit. I was so excited to join in the conversation, not only with Cole Tucker, but especially with Benjamin Hill, because I have so many thoughts regarding the Rocky Mountain vibes. And then the good folks at, I don't want to throw any company under the bus, we'll just say rhymes with Schmomcast. You pay a certain amount of money for the internet every month, and doesn't work half the time, and sometimes it just waits until you're getting set to record a podcast before being like, no, not today, friend.
not this moment.
We literally, I was counting in to us recording. I had given you guys ready? And I was getting set to count in to us recording the segment with Ben, and then my internet just dropped, and that was an hour and a half ago. So Sam has knocked out an interview with Cole Tucker. He's knocked out the conversation with Ben, and I didn't get a chance to give my takes on the Rocky Mountain vibes.
You know what? We'll save that for the end. How about that?
Yeah, we can do it at the end.
We'll tease everybody out, and that'll be a good lead out because we'll just be coming off our discussion with Ben. We'll go into Tyler's feelings as the Rocky Mountain correspondent, Rocky Mountain Bureau Chief.
Bureau Chief, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Sam. So with that, we have welcome you into episode number 186 of the Show Before the Show podcast from MILB.com. We're talking all things minor league baseball. My name is Tyler Mon. His name is Sam Dykstra. Thanks for tuning in. Wherever you found us, you can give us a rating and a review and a subscription. Maybe, unless you have Schmomcast internet, and then you might not be able to reach anything in order to be able to give a review. But if you do give a review, give us a nice one. You can get in touch with the show as well, podcast at MILB.com, and we'll get started on 3 strikes. We haven't recorded in a couple weeks. We were texting back and forth this morning, and I actually had the thought, when was the last time we did a podcast, which was only 2 weeks ago, but for some reason feels like forever ago. But we're getting started on really some news from the last couple of weeks, and one big story that went up on the site last week. Last Tuesday, we're recording this on Wednesday, November 28th. The Tuesday before Thanksgiving, the 21st of November, was the deadline, 8 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday, for prospects to be added to their respective Major League organizations' 40-man rosters. If not, certain prospects will be available to be picked in the Rule of 5 draft this year, which will take place on December 13th at the winter meetings in Las Vegas, Nevada. And, Sam, a lot of big talents placed onto 40-man rosters. A lot of interesting prospects not put on 40-man rosters. But give us a rundown of what happened last Monday into Tuesday.
Yeah, so as Tyler laid out there, players are Rule 5 eligible if they signed at age 18 or younger and they've been in the minor leagues for 5 seasons or more, or if they signed or drafted at age 19 or older and have been in pro ball for 4 seasons or more. So, because teams have to do research for Rule 5 and everything, it's not like on Rule 5 morning you can just show up and say like, oh no, we protected him last night, you can't take him. There's a hard and fast Rule 5 protection deadline. That was Tuesday, November 20th at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So throughout the day, we had teams announcing who they were protecting, who they were adding to the 40-man, making some other moves. There were some interesting prospect crunches. You want to protect as many players as you can because you don't want to lose some of these players to the Rule 5 draft. But that means you have to drop some others from the 40-man roster. One of the interesting ones was the San Diego Padres, who you don't necessarily think of as a team right now with a loaded major league roster, but at the same time they had limits on how many they could add add to their 40-man roster. They ended up adding 4 ranked prospects. Chris Paddock, who was our Milby winner for starting pitcher of the year, an easy add there. Anderson Espinoza, former top 100 prospect, hasn't pitched the last 2 years after undergoing Tommy John surgery, but still has a considerable ceiling. You don't want to lose him. And, Rule 5 picks, it's become kind of a recent trend. If a guy is coming off a major surgery, you take him anyways. You let him rehab and just see how it works. You're allowed to rehab them in the minor leagues. They still have to pitch a certain amount of games in the majors or be on the roster in the majors before they can officially stick. But guys like Daniel Winkler have been taken that way in the past. So Espinoza, you might think like, oh, he hasn't been around in a while. Padres still want to protect him. Austin Allen, a catching prospect, their number 25 guy, bat first catcher, but looking major league ready. Played a lot of the year at Double-A, hit 22 home runs. And Edward Olivares, their number 28 prospect, would be ranked much higher in many other systems. Kind of toolsy guy, hit 12 home runs this year at Class A Advanced. So the Padres having a little bit more of a prospect roster crunch than expected was interesting to follow. But not a lot of huge surprises, I would say. Certainly not amongst top 100 prospects. Guys like Mitch Keller got protected. Paddock, like I mentioned, Franklin Perez getting protected by the Tigers. Dylan Cease getting protected by the White Sox. Michael Chavis getting protected by the Red Sox, even coming after a rough year in which he was suspended 80 games. Hit really well at Double-A and Triple-A. You don't want to let him get away. So if you're looking for really, really, really big names going into the Rule 5 draft, they're just not going to be there. But there are some interesting ones. We'll get into them as we get closer to the winter meetings in Vegas in a couple weeks. Josh Ockamy, pops out to me, first base prospect in the Red Sox system, played at both Double-A and Triple-A. Thought there was a chance they might add him, but they ended up not doing that because they just brought back Steve Pearce, Mitch Moreland's still on the roster, Sam Travis still on the roster. You protect Ockamy, but where is he going to be? He's first base only. He's not going to get time at other positions, maybe like Sam Travis has, playing the outfield a little bit. So they let him be available. He's still in the organization, but he's still able to be picked. Riley Farrell in the Houston Astros organization, hard thrower, feels like somebody that a team might be willing to take on as a risk, for a bullpen arm. We'll see how that kind of works out, but we'll get more into the Rule 5 expectations and guys who are eligible for that who weren't protected as we get closer to the Rule 5 draft. If you want to look for a full list of ranked prospects who were protected, go to the main site. We still have it as of right now in our news index. Pretty easy to find. We had a full table that was running on Tuesday, November 20th, all the ranked prospects and some non-ranked guys who got protected. So check that out if you're still wondering who is on your favorite team's 40-man roster. But that always spices things up a little bit going into what can be kind of a downtime in terms of the offseason.
So you can check that out on the site right now. It's from last Tuesday. And figure out what your team did ahead of the Rule 5 draft. Strike 2 this week. We already had one relatively large trade as far as prospects go. Maybe one of the biggest ones as far as prospects go for the offseason. We're obviously very early on, but not often that we see the number 31 overall prospect in baseball moved. And that's exactly what happened when the Seattle Mariners and the New York Yankees agreed to a trade. Seattle landed the number 31 overall prospect in baseball. That is left-hander Justice Sheffield, who was headed from the Yankees to the Seattle Mariners as part of a deal that included right-handed pitching prospect Eric Swanson and minor league outfielder Dom Thompson, all headed from the Yankees to the Mariners in exchange for Mariners' former left-handed Mariners pitcher James Paxton, now lefty on the Yankees rotation. big deal in terms of where Justice Sheffield is headed. You trade a guy with a very promising future in Major League Baseball for a guy who has already proven himself at the Major League level if you're the Yankees and you acquire James Paxton. But for this deal for the Mariners, from their perspective, and, it's the offseason, so the Mariners are going to be dealing nonstop. What does this mean? And is Justice Sheffield going to be the highest guy that we see moved this offseason?
Yeah, so I'll get to that part in a little bit, and then we can have a little bit of fun with predicting who might be traded as some of the more prominent moves still come, especially in that Mariners organization with everything that's being talked about right now. But just to go back to the trade, this felt light to me when the trade happened. James Paxton, when he is healthy, and this is a guy who at times struggles to stay on the mound. I get that. He's yet to have a 200-inning season, but he still has 2 arbitration years left, so he's very controllable. He's not asking for, he's not going to get tons and tons of money. He's not getting free agent money. This isn't Robinson Cano we're talking about in terms of putting financial strain on an organization. So I thought he could get a considerable package back, and getting Justice Sheffield obviously is a good get. He automatically became the number 1 prospect in the Mariners system. He becomes the only top 100 prospect in that system. So, for a farm system that needs to be built up a little bit, Sheffield moves into that role. He could be, major league ready. He's definitely going to be competing for a rotation spot this spring after getting the call last year. Pitched exclusively out of the bullpen for the Yankees. That's because that's where they needed the help. Didn't make postseason rosters, but still got a little bit of taste of that. So he's already on the 40-man and all that. But I thought they could have gotten, somebody a little bit better than Eric Swanson, who, Swanson's coming off a very good year right now. But his ceiling might be as a number 5, number 4 starter if things all go well. This year he posted a 2.66 ERA in the minors with 139 strikeouts and only 29 walks in 121 2/3 innings. But you're hoping for a 4 or 5 starter out of that. Dom Thompson-Williams, had a good year in the FSL, but he's 23 now. He was a 5th-round pick out of college in 2016. So the fact that, he just got to Class A advance this year isn't great. Do these 3 guys make the Mariners system better? Absolutely. Like I mentioned, Sheffield is now their top prospect. Swanson's now number 9. Thompson-Williams is now number 14. He was unranked for the Yankees. Gives you a little bit of what the Mariners system was before this, that he can go from unranked to number 14. But some of the other things that were being mentioned out there is that the Astros were looking for help. They were talking about James Paxton, and the Mariners were asking for like Kyle Tucker or Forrest Whitley back, and they said no to that. That might have been shooting for the moon, but I still feel like there were better packages out there than 1 top 100 prospect, a possible swing man, and maybe at best a 4th outfielder at the major league level. But this was the signal that the Mariners are kind of in sell mode. They are looking to enrich their system and get a little younger, get a little deeper in the farm system. Bringing in Sheffield certainly is going to help with that. I'll be really interested to see, does he get a real chance? I think he should get a chance to compete out of the starting rotation this year. I know some people immediately after the trade, and this is always funny, once a trade happens, either after prospects get praised to the hilt, before a trade, the second a trade happens, now everybody comes out and says, well, he's got some command issues. Yes, we've always said that with him. He does have some command issues. Those could lead to the bullpen for him, but there's no doubt that he's a major league player. What role we'll have to see, but I do think he has a real chance, given his velocity, given his slider, and a chance for an above average changeup, to be a number 3 starter for years to come. And that's something, the Mariners are going to need if this is going to be a multi-year rebuild. I just thought that they could get something else a little bit more, especially out of the Yankee system that, yes, it's not as deep as it once was, this time last year. A lot of that has to do with graduations, but could have gotten a little bit more better of a second piece, I think, than Eric Swanson. But Jerry Dipoto loves trades. We've said that for years and years now. So this is just the first shoe to drop, and surely more is about to come.
Strike 3 this week, Sam. We are headed toward the really the middle stretches now of some winter leagues in Latin America, Australia, elsewhere around the globe. And we've seen some really good already performances early on in the season from some guys like Fernando Tatis Jr., who's now playing at home in the Dominican Republic and hit a couple of home runs in a game the other day. But there are a lot of guys all across the globe who are taking part in Winter League ball right now. Who are you keeping an eye on in the Winter Leagues?
Yeah, so I did a tool shed on Tuesday about this, and I didn't do it necessarily for like, here are guys who, are performing well so far in the Winter League. Yes, you could write that up, and I think Pipeline has a version of that, which is great. Fernando Tatis obviously is one of those. Josh Jackson wrote a piece over the weekend about how he's done really well in the power department. This winter after coming off an injury that knocked him out for much of the second half. That's great to see. But when I'm looking at the Winter League, I'm looking more for guys who have something to prove. I mean, they're not just there to eat up games and get a little extra game time in during the offseason, most of the time back home for some of these guys, whether they live in the Dominican, Venezuela, Mexico, or Puerto Rico. But some of these prospects who have something that they have to show here going into the spring. So that's what the idea of this tool shed was. And one of those guys at that point that kind of sticks out to me is Albert Abreu, continually just having injury-riddled seasons in that Yankee system. This year, it was kind of a lost year for him. He had an appendectomy. He had right elbow inflammation, was only limited to 72 and 2/3 innings. Okay, so now he's going back to the Dominican, playing for Tigres del Licey, trying to show that, yes, he can stay healthy for a longer period. And also that his high octane stuff is still going to play as he adds innings. He's somebody who can hit the upper 90s, potentially triple digits with that fastball. And so far, so good. As of when I wrote this, he had a 1.50 ERA, 1.17 WHIP through 18 innings. Is the Dominican Winter League great competition? It can be. I mean, Fernando Tatis Jr. is there. The good things can happen there. It is not necessarily AAA competition by any means, but the fact that he's holding his own there so far, he's answering questions the way he should be. Kind of looking at the opposite end of the spectrum. Jorge Mateo, former top 100 prospect, also from the Yankee system, got traded in the Sonny Gray trade, which someday I feel like we're going to look back on that. And right now it's worrisome for all sides.
Yeah.
Dustin Fowler hasn't looked great necessarily in Oakland. James Caprillion hasn't even pitched for Oakland yet, as he's dealing with his own injury issues. Jorge Mateo, his stock took a drop. He's no longer a top 100 prospect. He had just a 230, 280, 353 slash line this year. His 62 WRC plus was 64th in the Pacific Coast League. There were only 66 qualified batters. Not great. Still has top of the line speed. That's going to help him at shortstop. I remember the Yankees tried giving him some time in center field. Oakland has only allowed him to play in the infield so far. But he's playing for Toros del Este in the Dominican Republic. This is a chance for him to show, listen, yeah, my bat didn't show up in my first taste of AAA, but it still can. There's still some value there. Through 18 games, he had still struggled. He was 9 for 50 with 2 doubles in 18 games. The good news is he's walking as much as he's striking out. He had 10 walks, 10 strikeouts, and a 328 OBP. So some stuff to be taken out of that. It's only 18 games, kind of a small sample, but I'm going to continue to watch Jorge Mateo and see if he can show any value with the bat. Otherwise, he's going to be kind of a pinch runner extraordinaire. He'll get to the majors at some point in that way because, as we see with the Quentin Berries of the world, you're always going to want to call up guys who you can use in the later innings just to get, stolen bases here and there. But is he going to be a regular at all at any point in his major league career? That's going to be based on the bat, and that's something he's got to show this winter in the Dominican Republic. So there's some other names on this list that I had. You can go. The story got posted on Tuesday. Delvin Perez in the Cardinal system, somebody who's yet to be featured in full season ball after being a first-round pick a couple of years back. He's another name on that list. You can keep going through it, but check that out. It was Tuesday's Tool Shed.
So that is 3 strikes for this week's episode of the show before the show as we roll along into the off-season, and winter meetings coming up in just about 2 weeks, so things will start getting probably crazier, although after the off-season of 2017 and 2018, who knows anymore? But that is 3 strikes for this week's episode 186. Coming up, it's the All Sam Dykstra Show. Next. Cole Tucker, the Pittsburgh Pirates, coming up, and then Sam and Ben after that. And I'll rejoin you on the other side. Cole Tucker for the Pittsburgh Pirates next.
Joining us this week on the Minor League Baseball podcast is number 5 Pirates prospect Cole Tucker, who's not just calling in during the offseason, taking some time for us, but calling in from Italy, from Rome, Italy, which makes this episode have a little bit more of an international flavor than we're used to. Cole, thanks so much for joining us and joining us from so far away.
Yeah, no problem, man. It's just a phone call away. So, yeah, thanks for having me. It's an honor.
Yeah, it's the beauty of modern technology, I guess. So why Italy? We'll start with there. Why did you choose Italy? We were talking a little bit before we started recording here is, you got to take your vacations whenever you can get them. But what drew you to Rome and Italy to take this vacation?
Yeah, so really no reason. So I'm here with my older brother, and we've never really been to Europe. Actually, my older brother's been to Spain, but I've never been to Europe. So we're just here kind of bouncing around. We're here in Italy this week, and then we're going to Spain this weekend. And we're actually going to go to Morocco and Africa next week. So we're just kind of bouncing around and seeing the sights and just going wherever we want to go. We don't really have any plans or obligations, so we're just kind of having fun with it.
There you go. Yeah, what's the standout of the trip so far?
We've only been here 2 days, but the food is like mind-blowing. We had some pizza today for lunch that was a joke. Like, it was so good. Last night we had this really cool Italian dinner too. And today, like, we got to go around and see the sights and stuff. And like, just the fact that all these buildings, like the Colosseum and all that, were built so long ago and like still standing, and they did it all without cranes and stuff. It's pretty like remarkable. Just like everything's just pretty impressive, to be honest.
Yeah, so I got to ask this, what's your go-to pasta order then?
Oh, so ironically, like, I'm in Italy, and this is super idiotic, but I don't like tomatoes. Like, I like tomato sauce, but like big chunky tomatoes I just can't do for whatever reason. I'm a super picky eater. So I really like stuff with pesto in it.
Okay.
So that's definitely my go-to, anything with pesto.
Yeah, no, there you go. I mean, that's perfectly legit. We wanted to bring you on this week because so much has gone on for you in this offseason already. Just 8 days ago, the Pirates announced that they were adding you to the 40-man roster, protecting you from the Rule 5 draft. What was that experience like? How did you hear about that? And were there any nerves going into that? I mean, obviously, like I said, you're number 5 prospect, well thought of in the organization, but it's not official until it's official. So what is that process like, hearing about being added to the roster in that way?
Yeah, so it is kind of stressful, like you said. Like, I'm a prospect and all that, and that's well and good, and it's really cool. But like, you never know until you know. Obviously, like, everyone's saying I was going to get protected, and like, that's super cool. But you want to hear from the horse's mouth. And like, ironically, that day I got like a little nervous for whatever reason, just because like I hadn't gotten a phone call yet. Like, no one said anything. Like, my agent was telling me I was going to get protected and all that, which is great. But like, you want to get that call. So I'm in a movie that day on that Tuesday or whatever it was, and I get a phone call from a Pittsburgh number, and I sprint out of this movie theater. Like, I'm running as fast as I can, like Jose Reyes, Kenny Lofton, out of this movie theater. And I pick it up, and it's our team president. It was Frank Coonley, and he was just calling to like say what's up and congratulate me on like having a good fall and stuff, and just catching up. See you soon. Really proud of you. And that was it. Like, I was waiting for like and we're putting you on the 40-man, and it just like didn't come. So hung up the phone. It was super cool to get the call from Frank, because he's obviously the team president, like head honcho. But I was like, oh, damn, all right, never mind. And then I just went about my day, and then I got a call, or then I was out at lunch with a buddy of mine from middle school, and I got the call from Larry Broadway, our farm director, and he told me, and he's like, yeah, like, not a huge surprise, but like, just wanted to call and congratulate you and let you know. So like, it was like a weight lifted off my shoulders. So I was expecting it, but like, I can get in my own head sometimes, and I would just kind of freak myself out. But it's a cool story.
Yeah, no, for sure. I wish somebody would have gotten to Frank to say like, hey, this is maybe not the best day to call about this unless you have other news. But that's all right. You got it eventually.
No, it's cool. It's cool.
And how much is that on your mind during the season going into this? I mean, you get sent to the Fall League, you played all year at AA Altoona, played 133 games, knowing that this was a possibility at the end of the year. At what point does this enter your mind that, this is something you're playing for throughout the season?
It's like, it's something that you're playing for, but at the end of the day, like, when you're in the season and you're playing those 133 games, like you said, like, you're focused on hitting the ball and catching it and throwing, and like, I'm caught up in the game, and like, I can think about getting called up, or I can think about getting put on the 40 man, but it's like I said earlier, like, it's just only going to get in my own way. So I try to block out that noise and just play my game. But like in the off season, like, you have so much idle time to think about stuff like that. So like I said, like when I was at the movie theaters, I was thinking about it, but like during the season, I try to not let it clog up my brain.
Yeah, no, fair enough. So, yeah, we also want to talk to you because you are coming off a very strong fall league. You played 20 games for Surprise there, hitting .370, which was third best in the AFL. One of the more impressive things for me is that your walks and strikeouts were equal, both with 12, leading to a .442 OBP. Those were better numbers than you put up during the regular season. What were you working on during the fall league that kind of led to this uptick in production, down there in Arizona?
Coming off the season, like, I hit like 260, not as great as I was, and I really just wanted to like put my foundation in the box and just like really focus on staying in my legs and like essentially just driving the baseball, hitting the baseball hard, not necessarily trying to hit it in the air or trying to like hit home runs, because it's just like not my game. Unfortunately, it'd be really cool if it was, but it's not, and I've accepted it. But I was just trying to like do damage and hit the ball hard. And like when I say do damage, I mean like in a way where it's just hard contact all over the place. Left field, right field, center field, right-handed or left-handed, doesn't really matter. Just trying to do damage. And that's really all I went into the fall league thinking about. Like, I didn't have any expectations for numbers. I know historically, like, some guys go there and struggle. Like, guys don't have crazy sexy numbers. But I just wanted to focus on that, and that's all I kind of hung my hat on, and it turned into a lot of success, a lot of hard contact, a lot of hits, obviously, and I just wanted to be reliable and at shortstop, and obviously, like, I love making cool plays at short, but just going in and making the routine plays short, like that's what my job is, and that's what I did. So it was ultimately a success, but that was kind of the thought process behind the whole thing.
Yeah, and at what point did you feel like that approach change had really clicked in and was really bringing results? Was that something that happened even before the fall league, something like an Instructs or something like that, or when did you feel really comfortable that, hey, this approach is really working for me now?
So started like thinking about it and talking about it with our people with the Pirates and my coaches and people that I trust. Like in the middle of the season, like I was struggling really bad in May, and then kind of like tapped into it like leading into the second half, and I had a pretty strong second half. Kind of dug myself out of the hole and ended up all right. So yeah, I started with that, like staying in my legs and having a good foundation. Probably in July, when it started kind of clicking for me and working for me, and carried that over and got some really good work in with our people down in Bradenton and Instructs for the time I was down there before Arizona, and then just kind of carried it over and just stuck to it, and I was stubborn about it and had a lot of success. Like I was hitting the ball really, really, really hard, so that was fun.
Yeah, and beyond just the numbers that we talked about, you also came away from the Fall League with the Darnell Stenson Award, which is given out to guys who stand out in both sportsmanship and work ethic. What did that award mean to you, getting that at the end and being awarded for that way, not just for your play on the field, but also what everybody got to see from you off it?
Yeah, man, that was really cool. Honestly, like I'd be lying to you if I said I wasn't super proud of that award. Just because like the Fall League is such a prestigious place and a prestigious league, and for me being from Phoenix, like doing it at home and being honored and recognized and getting to play in front of my friends and family literally every day was so cool. And there's so many good people that I ran into, not only on my team, but other teams. Like I gained a ton of friends in the Fall League. Like the running joke is that I'm the mayor of Arizona and I know everybody. So like playing in this league at home was super fun. And to win that award, it was nominated by my peers and coaches and people around the league that played with and against me. It was like super, super, super special. Like I was moved when I found out that I was even nominated for it. Then when I won, it was just the icing on the cake.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up being from Phoenix, because I was going to ask, what was the piece of advice specific to Phoenix or Arizona that you were giving out to guys the most while you were down there?
It depends on where guys were from. Like, but mostly like eat as much Mexican food as you can, man. And just find a happy medium. But the fall league's like a super cool laid back experience. Like guys are there to get their work in, and it's such an elite level of like talent that's there playing, and it was just fun to get to play with those guys. But then like on our days off and nights off, getting to hang out and do stuff with those guys was really cool. It's just a really cool experience. If we could like bottle that up and make that how it is in the summertime, like the game would be so much fun. Like the game is fun, don't get me wrong, but like the fall league, it just seems like there's just like laid backness to it for whatever reason, but there's still a level of seriousness, but it's just a really cool vibe. I don't really know how to describe it. I'm doing a really terrible job of it.
No, that's fine. I was going to ask if you could expand on that a little bit. What do you feel like? Is it just because it's finite, it's short, and you're playing with guys you've never played with before, and it's not as much of a drag, or where do you feel like that fun nature of it comes from?
I don't know. I think it's like the newness of it. Like when you're in school, like the first week is really exciting, and like the whole school year isn't that exciting, but maybe it is because it's finite and it's not 140 something games. Like you're there for this 6-week period, and that's all you got, and it's going to come and go, and you want to show out. So like guys are really motivated to perform, obviously. So it is intense. Like if you're facing a Nate Pearson or a Forrest Whitley, like you get amped up for those games just because they're big names. Or if you're a pitcher and you're throwing against like Vladdy or Lucius Fox, like there's these big names that everybody knows and sees on Twitter all the time. Like guys get amped up for that. And then like when you're not at the field, when you're not playing, you're in the clubhouse with a bunch of dudes from teams that you've never played with before. And there's a ton of like friendships to be made. And then on off days, like everyone finds the same place to go and everyone's hanging out. Like it's just a really cool vibe. And I think it is because it's so short. Like everyone's trying to stuff in so much fun and so much experience into this one time, and everyone's trying to play really well because it is short. It comes and goes. So I think that might be what it is.
Yeah, and coming from those conversations that you had with so many different players from different organizations, and especially that surprise team that I feel was pretty loaded with top talent, what's something that you're going to take away from the Fall League, a conversation with somebody, with a coach, with a player, what have you, and carry it forward with you this off season, going into next spring and next season?
Yeah, a bunch of stuff. Like I really loved our manager and like the tone that he sets. Stubby Clapp, he just got the first base coach job with the Cardinals. I'm jealous for those guys. He's a great dude, great coach. He was fun to play for. He just set the tone in a really positive, like go-getter way. I talked to Kevin Biggio a ton about like hitting an approach and mindset in the box, and so I'm going to take some stuff away from him. Nick Heath with the Royals absolutely flies, and I'm going to take a bunch of stuff from him, like as a base runner and a base stealer, just techniques and thoughts and counts to steal on and stuff. So there's so much knowledge walking around in the Fall League. Like every team's coordinator's popping in, everyone's front office is popping in. Of all the best players from each of these organizations are there. There's just so much to take away. Like I could bore you for 30 minutes on stuff that I learned from people in the Fall League.
Well, let's get a little bit more into your history. Some people might know, some people might not know. You were supposed to, I think, go to the Fall League last year before a hand and thumb injury got in the way there. You've gone through shoulder injuries in the past that have held you back. What do you take away from those experiences, and what is it like going through big injuries like that and having to get back up and continue to put up results like you have the last couple of years? What have those injuries taught you over the last 5 seasons in the minor leagues?
I mean, it's just showed me that like baseball and life is tough sometimes. Like when you're in high school, you get drafted, you're a first round pick. Like baseball's never really been hard, and then you go to the Sally League and you run into a guy at first base and you tear your labrum and you slide into Ryan Mountcastle's foot and you break your hand and you miss the Fall League. Like these things pop up and there's stuff that you can't control, and it sucks, but you just got to bounce back from it and just be resilient. And that's what it's taught me. Just like with a game, like you're going to get punched in the mouth sometimes. Like there's going to be days and weeks where you can't hit or you can't throw or you just suck, and it's terrible. But it's the game. It's what makes it so rewarding when it's good. So like, if I could tell 18-year-old Cole Tucker like what to expect, I would just say like, just be ready for whatever. Just be ready to roll with the punches, and like, I wouldn't change the way I play to like avoid injuries, because I play hard, and that's been like the reason why I've gotten hurt, which sucks. But like, I wouldn't tell myself to change that, because it's made me who I am, and it makes me a way better player.
Yeah, very cool. And coming off that shoulder injury, shoulder is something you need to throw. Normally we talk about that with pitchers, but shortstop, your arm's pretty demanding at that position, especially if you're going to stick there like a lot of people think you are. How long did the rehab process take from that, and when did you feel like you were making full throws again?
So the rehab process, like getting back into games, I kind of rushed it because I was like so eager to play again. Usually, like when I had surgery, they said like, yeah, like a smart recovery here would be like 10 to 12 months. And I was back playing in like 7 to 9 like an idiot. But I mean, I was young and I healed fast and I got my range of motion back. So I was pushing it. Obviously, I want to play. I want to go perform and continue to move through the minor leagues. But like, I wasn't 100% yet. Like the shoulder wasn't all the way back. And there were some question marks about my arm. And in the past like year or so, year and a half, like I feel like I've kind of corrected that, and my arm's gotten a ton stronger. It's just a testament to like the work that me and the guys have put in the training room and the weight room, and just like ultimately being smart about it and just focusing on having good backspin and carry on my throws. And I feel like my arm is back, and it's better than it was before. Like I feel really good about where my arm strength is right now. And obviously with having a repaired labrum, it's something that I have to stay on and continue to strengthen, or else it'll go away. But it's something that I take pride in.
And moving on to one of your other best tools, some would say maybe your best tool, is your speed. You're coming off a 35 steal season this year. You stole 47 bags in 2017. I think you have 126 career stolen bases. Obviously, you're going to be a threat on the base paths. I want to go a little bit further back. When did you know you were fast?
Maybe like senior year of high school, junior year of high school. I wasn't like that fast until I kind of grew into my legs. I was kind of like awkward, like my legs were too long for my body, like freshman, sophomore year. Like junior, senior year, I got really fast. And then like in the Sally League, I stole like 20 something bases in not that many games, maybe like 70 games. And I was like, okay, like I can steal. And I kind of got that confidence and that swagger that I could do it.
Cool. So we'll end on this one. Like we talked about at the open, you're now on the 40-man roster. Things are going to be a little bit different. You're no longer just a non-roster invitee to spring training. You're a full roster invitee. You get your own locker, all that kind of stuff going to Bradenton in the spring. How does this roster spot change your off season, change your outlook going into spring, knowing that A, you are given a very legit chance to make the roster, and B, even if that doesn't happen, you're still only just a call away?
Yeah, I would say that it doesn't like change anything as far as my preparation goes. But it definitely gives you like a little plug of confidence, just knowing that they don't have to clear a roster spot for me to get up to Pittsburgh. Like that's a really cool thing. Obviously, I've got to continue to work and grow, and when they think I'm ready, I'll be ready. But it gives you a little kick in the butt. Like it's like, whoa, like hey, we're kind of close, man. Like let's do this. It gives you like a little bit of a jolt. But as far as like preparation goes, I'm going to do the same stuff. And obviously with this shorter off season, there's a bit of a time crunch to get back in the gym once I get home from this trip, and continue to get stronger just so I can show up ready to go in February when we start up in Bradenton.
Yeah, what's the one thing you're going to identify as the thing you need to work on this spring to make that jump and have that call come potentially at some point in 2019?
Honestly, kind of going back what we talked about in the fall league and in the second half of the season. Like if I can stay in my legs and do damage and have consistent at bats and have a consistent approach in the box, I'm going to be a really good everyday player. Because I think I'm reliable at shortstop to be that everyday guy. I think that it's going to come down to how good my approach is and what I do with the balls in the zone that I should be driving.
All right, we'll leave it at that. We'll let you get back to the Italian nights or whatever you guys are going to be doing out there in Rome tonight and the rest of your trip, which sounds amazing, by the way. 2 continents, multiple countries. You think there's going to be a lot of people jealous back here. But Cole, thanks so much for joining us and taking the time, and enjoy the rest of the trip and the rest of the off season.
Awesome. I appreciate it. You do the same. Take care. Thanks for having me.
All right, well, now we're going to roll into the segment we have every week when we do have a podcast. We didn't have one last week. We have one this week with Ben Hill, who I'm going to jump in and say is to my right. I don't think I've ever said that before, introducing where you are sitting relative to me. But, it's a new time. So, you're sitting to my right this week. Welcome in, Ben. How are you?
Wow, this makes me feel guilty. I never looked at things from your perspective. So you were to my left. I never considered that you would experience things different from me, and I'll try to take that as a lesson going forward to be more thoughtful and empathetic as regards the experiences of others.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a good lesson as we enter the holiday season, coming out of Thanksgiving, going into Christmas, Hanukkah, every holiday, winter solstice, whatever you want to call it. So we have a lot of catching up to do, I feel like, since we weren't here last week. A couple of big news, or one big piece of news broke, obviously, in the form of the Rocky Mountain Vibes, as we have discussed on the podcast before. AAA Colorado Springs moving to San Antonio. Rookie level Helena moving to Colorado Springs. So Colorado Springs Sky Sox are no more. Moving into their place are the Rocky Mountain Vibes, which was not one of the final options that we learned about, especially from you who was there in Colorado Springs this year as they were presenting some of their options. Rocky Mountain Vibes, a little bit out of left field, but you put together the story on this. Tell us a little bit about the background of the Vibes.
The Rocky Mountain Vibes. Yeah, you're right. I was in Colorado Springs in September for the last games in Sky Sox history. Colorado Springs was a AAA team, obviously from 1988 all the way through 2017. And when I was in Colorado Springs, I was told by the front office they had made their selection. They did not divulge it to me, but they seemed happy and confident about the direction they were going. So I was surprised when they announced the name, and it was the Rocky Mountain Vibes, which was not one of the 5 finalists. We have a precedent for this, which was, if you recall last year, the Gwinnett Stripers. Mm-hmm. They did not have Stripers as one of their finalists, and the rationale was that they had gone way down the road with Big Mouths, another bass fishing reference, the more they thought about Big Mouths, they just didn't want to be called the Big Mouths because it was a mouthful, so to speak. Big Mouths. Hello, this is Big Mouths baseball. It just didn't really fit, so they went with Stripers. And I think you have something similar here, not necessarily with the way the name rolled off the tongue, but Colorado Springs really liked Happy Campers which was one of the finalists. So they went way down the road with the Happy Campers identity, and but the more they thought about it, they're like, that still implies camping specifically. And I guess I was talking to the GM, Chris Phillips, and he said, we just more like the idea of happy campers, of just people. Colorado's a very transient state. There's a lot of people who grew up elsewhere, and people in Colorado seem to be happy campers. They like to live in Colorado. So it's more of a state of mind. So what is that state of mind that makes you a happy camper? What makes you happy living in Colorado? It's those Rocky Mountain vibes. So that is kind of the rationale with this. And so there's kind of a vaguely camping-themed identity here. You got Toasty Vibes, the mascot and one of the main logos, who is a anthropomorphic s'more. He's got...
Is he an anthropomorphic s'more or an anthropomorphic marshmallow who is like wearing a graham cracker and chocolate?
Good point, Sam. He could be seen as...
Where does Toasty end and where does he begin?
That's a good... So Toasty, his face and a big portion of his body is a marshmallow that's on fire. His hair is on... He doesn't have hair unless he's on fire. The flames are his hair, and he's wearing sunglasses. And then he has graham cracker sleeves, essentially, and chocolate on the inside of those sleeves. So the question is that all part of his body? That when he was born and grew up, did he always have those graham cracker and chocolate components, or is he a marshmallow who accessorized to the point where then he became a s'more? I think that's open for interpretation. But you got Toasty Vibes. He is a s'more in essence. Maybe he's an anthropomorphic marshmallow who became a s'more. But regardless, that's Toasty Vibes. You've got the main logo, which is a stick, like a camping stick, the kind of stick that you put a marshmallow on, with Vibes spelled out in flames. The only real reference to Colorado Springs specifically is one of the logos with a bite taken out of a marshmallow that represents the C next to a flaming S. And you might look at that and not see the CS immediately, but it's there. And then once you see it, you're like, oh, well, how did I miss that? Right. And then there's another logo that just incorporates the C of the Colorado state flag on a marshmallow. So between the state flag logo and the name Rocky Mountain Vibes, they're clearly not differentiating themselves from Colorado Springs, but moving away from that specific locality to more embody the larger region in Colorado in general. And, I like it because just as someone who covers this all the time, I feel like every week on this podcast we talked about the woodpeckers, then we talked about the trash pandas, then we talked about the sod poodles, and now we're talking about the Vibes. And most of these new teams, it ties in somehow to an underdog mentality, and the logo represents a feisty underdog, which represents the people of the city. And before working in minor league baseball, I did not know that every community in America was made up of feisty underdogs, but it's good to know. So I kind of like Rocky Mountain Vibes in that it's not representing the proverbial underdog. It is not even a living thing, no matter how ridiculous a living thing.
No matter if you slap sunglasses on it and a fiery haircut.
Yeah, and Vibes specifically is not a animal. It's not a living thing. It's a state of mind. And how many teams out there represent a state of mind? Very few. Yeah. We could look into it. I mean, the Utah Jazz. I mean,
tangible things.
A little
bit.
This
is more what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Greenville Drive. That could be interpreted as just having drive of
right. It's not the drives.
Yeah.
It's drive.
So there's maybe a little precedent, but this is just a unique way to brand a team, and I kind of like that they went with this real Colorado mentality. This kind of like, hey man, we're feeling those Rocky Mountain vibes. It kind of goes into like a lot of these.
You can't say it without saying it in that voice.
No,
not you specifically.
No,
I mean,
everybody.
anybody.
Yeah, and our colleague Tyler Maughan, who would have a lot to say about this. We've lost him on this segment due to technical difficulties, unfortunately. Right. But as a Colorado resident and native, he would have a lot to chime in on here. I'm sure about Colorado and Rocky Mountain Vibes and his take as a Colorado resident. But there very much is that stereotype right now, and for the foreseeable future, of like, hey man, I'm feeling those vibes, and they're going with it. I think they're gonna have fun, and it helped that I visited Colorado Springs in September to get a sense of the front office. And I think they really have that mentality, and they're going to have a lot of fun with this. And, of course, from a distance, it's like, how could things have gotten worse for Colorado Springs baseball? First, they lose the Rockies affiliation. How can you be a team in Colorado Springs and not be a Rockies affiliate? Then a couple years after that, they lose AAA, and now they're a Brewers-affiliated rookie team. So from afar, it's kind of like, man, what a dramatic fall. But I think if you're the front office and if you're looking at running a team in Colorado Springs from a business perspective, to have a new fun identity, to not have to operate in what is one of the most difficult full season markets in terms of weather, I think this is where they want to be, really. And I think since the average fan is not too concerned with the quality of play, I don't think there'll be much of a drop-off in attendance either. There'll be a drop-off of attendance in the sense that they're playing 38 home games instead of 35, or instead of 70. Yeah. My math's a little off there. I cut 70 in half instead of 70. So there'll be a drop-off just in that there'll be less games, but I think they'll be able to attract, close to what they were doing, if not better in a lot of cases, on a per game average with this new branding, and I think a lot more fun at the ballpark in terms of the way they brand it. And Chris Phillips, again, the GM, was telling me, about ways they'll have specific areas around the stadium, representing these different states of mind and just feeling the vibes all over the place. And it seems very likely that there will be fire pits for make your own s'mores stations, which is a pretty cool thing at a minor league baseball game.
Yeah, and you touched on it a little bit here, but I want to get a little bit deeper into it in terms of the broader appeal of something like this. I mean, they're going from the Colorado Springs, which is a very specific city, to Rocky Mountain, which is an entire region. It's much easier to sell something when it's an entire region, and not just that, but like Vibes, I feel like is so unique in a way that it could sell almost to the entire country. people all over are going to like us more on a hat as opposed to something that's very specific to the area. If Tyler were here, he would talk about he thought they would have gone in a militaristic way or a very patriotic way because of Colorado Springs and its relationship to the military. It seems like here they went with a broad appeal. How much does that affect the decision making on something like this when you're trying to sell hats to all corners of the country and even the globe, or is it just what can we do in the community?
Yeah, it's a push and pull, and obviously the local market is the most important thing. So obviously the front office thinks this will resonate enough with Colorado Springs to be successful, because that's the most important thing at the end of the day. But obviously there is also the consideration that if they went for something specifically Colorado Springs, and yes, there is a bit of an irony that of all the large cities in Colorado Springs is probably the least the least adherent to that stereotype. It is a more conservative area of the country, a lot of military, or of the state, a lot of military. So you don't associate, when you think of Colorado and those Rocky Mountain vibes, Colorado Springs is probably not the town you'd associate that with. But it's still Colorado. It's still in the mountains. There's still that Colorado mentality in the area. And beyond that, and this is again something Chris Phillips told me, is Denver's about an hour away. Boulder's not very far, and they want to draw, one, fans from that area, and two, sell merch in that area as well, throughout the state as well as throughout the nation. So they think that once they brand the whole ballpark experience around this, it's going to work with the local market, and is also something that translates beyond the confines of Colorado Springs as well.
All right, well, transitioning now to a story that, like I said, this is basically catch-up week for us here. Some of the stuff we haven't had a chance to talk about on the podcast yet. This is a story that, by the time you guys are listening to this, came out 2 weeks ago, but we haven't had a chance to talk about it yet. Your Ben's Best lists. There we go. Got it a third try. Continue on, and the last one you posted before we took our break for Thanksgiving was on ballpark characters. Again, going level by level, from AAA all the way down to rookie level. Take us through this, who you chose for your best ballpark characters.
Yeah, Ben's Biz Best Of, it rolls on. It is a little hard to say, a little bit of a tongue twister. I almost said Ben's Bris, and I'm not Jewish nor authorized to perform such ceremonies. No. Ben's Biz Best Of, ballpark characters is the last one that ran. And, if you've been following this series of articles, it started with just best ballparks overall. I had best ballpark views, had food, had mascots. It's been a fun thing to write about, here in a kind of dead time of the year for minor league baseball overall outside of the branding. So for characters, I just looked again level by level and just chose one person who really adds a lot to the ballpark experience. And it's a fun article to write, and I think if you're listening to this podcast, you'd also enjoy the article and this whole series of articles. But I chose individuals such as Fred Costello as the AAA pick, the Rochester Red Wings organist who's been doing it for over 40 years. He wrote the kitschy Here Come the Red Wings theme song, and it's just great to see organ music incorporated at the ballpark the way he does it. Some other guys I had on there, we had the crazy hot dog vendor in Reading, kind of had to pick him for AA. I mean, right. Really such a popular character at the ballpark, throwing those frankfurters while he's riding his ostrich around. Super Churros man, Paul Cerda in San Jose. Again, like the team, suited up as the Churros this year. And in most cases, when you see these alternate identities based on team names, it's a food that's very specific to that region. I mean, are churros more popular in San Jose than other parts of the country? Probably. But it's not that churros are such a San Jose specialty. It's because this guy sells them. Right. He's that much of an icon at the ballpark.
And same way with Reading. I mean, they came out with hats with the ostrich man on those.
The ostrich man.
Crazy hot dog vendor.
Yeah, it's amazing. If you look through a list of the last decade plus of things they've given away with the crazy hot dog vendor, I mean, it's like pillowcases, alarm clocks, bobbleheads, T-shirts, hats. There is a cottage industry around the crazy hot dog vendor. Class A, again, some of the, how can you pick anyone but the Toast Man, West Virginia Power? Definitely the most entertaining fan in all of minor league baseball. Maybe if I was a season ticket holder at West Virginia, maybe I'd be a little annoyed by this guy. I mean, he, of course, is known first and foremost for throwing toast into the crowd. When the Power moved into their current ballpark, the team made sure that there was an outlet in front of his seat. He has a first-row seat behind home plate, and there's an outlet in front of his seat so he can plug in his toaster. And then after any opposing team strikeout, he yells "You're toast" and throws toast in the crowd. But that's only that's what gets the most attention, and that's he's the toast man. But I mean, he researches his opponents. He'll heckle opposing pitchers based on bad outings they had in college and stuff like that. He will have chants lined up for all the home team players, specialized signs for players. I mean, this guy is into it. And a little fun fact, I mean, the toast man in real life is a guy named Rod Blackstone, and he's the deputy mayor of Charleston, West Virginia. So deputy mayor by day, toast man by night. Eric the Peanut Guy in Class A short season. He's been working for the Tri-City Dust Devils since the team began in 2001. Was originally, for at least a brief time, just a peanut guy, but then became the on-field MC. In the later innings, he sells peanuts. Super enthusiastic guy, real nice guy, and again, just a huge part of the franchise and the game day experience. And then in the rookie level, I went to the Appy League, Bluefield, and picked Henry Double Out Belcher. An older gentleman, military vet, and in his retirement, he comes to every single Bluefield Blue Jays games and yells the entire time. And he was fun to interview and talk about. All these individuals I've done separate stories on. Most of them have been featured in the Ben's Biz insert set, which is part of Topps Pro Debut the last 2 years. So these are guys I've certainly written about in the past, and I said guys and then realized, yes, they are all males, and I apologize on behalf of my gender for only choosing males, but
that's for the next.
That's for the next time. Yeah, I will do my best to recognize women as well. I always feel guilty. I'm sorry.
So, no, this is a fun list though. Like these are some of these, like you said, are pretty easy picks, like the crazy hot dog vendor. But I feel like a lot of other people don't necessarily know about the crazy characters that happen, across the country. Your park might have one, but some of these guys really take it to another level.
Yeah, and I threw honorable mentions in there. There's, of course, other ones, and all these Ben's Best articles, I agonize over who I'd leave out. And certainly, in this one, I thought, oh, man, Class A short season. I love Eric the Peanut Guy, but maybe I should have gone with Rashawn, the director of Smiles for the Williamsport Crosscutters. So I always will second guess certain things such as that. And but that's why I include the honorable mentions so that you can click and learn more about them. And of course, with all these stories, get in touch and let me know what I'm missing, and let's make it a dialogue.
Yeah. So this continues to roll along. By the time this podcast is out, you'll have another list out. Tease that a little bit. It's on ballpark features. It's not. We've done ballparks in general, ballpark views. Now this is features.
Yeah, originally the idea was quirks, but then I thought some of these things aren't necessarily quirks, but these are aspects of ballparks that are unique and very specific to that place. So stay tuned for that. It'll be out the same day as this podcast. So read that, the next in the series, and then I think I'm going to end the series with another best of, but a little bit different. Not so much about the ballpark experience, but because we will at that point be closing out on the new team unveiling season. I'm just going to choose all my favorite logos from each level because I know people will want to chime in on that. So I think that's going to finish it up, and then after that the winter meetings. And after that, I'll be on vacation, and then we'll start talking 2019.
I know, yeah. Well, speaking of winter meetings are in Vegas. Vegas has announced that they will be announcing a new identity on the 8th, I believe.
Yeah.
Right before the winter meetings.
Yeah, the winter meetings start officially on December 9th. On December 8th, Las Vegas, formerly the 51s, will be announcing their new team name. And that'll roll right into the winter meetings in Vegas. So Vegas will be...
very much on our minds.
Yeah, a big part of they are the team of December for sure. And of course, the new name that they're unveiling is in conjunction with the team moving into a new ballpark in 2019. One of 3 new ballparks in 2019, with Fayetteville, North Carolina, being one, and the other being one of Amarillo. I almost blanked. I almost blanked for a second. I was like, Sam, save me, but it came to mind. Amarillo. The 3 new ballparks in 2019: Amarillo, Las Vegas, and Fayetteville. There you go.
All right, so that'll wrap it up for this week. Thank you, Ben. We'll talk to you next week.
We will, and I hope you enjoyed having me sit on your right.
Final segment. What a great job Sam did this week. Did a great job, Sam. Great job, Sam.
I feel like you should listen and edit the segments before you say this.
Sam, great job.
Okay, thank you.
That's what I think. So vibes.
Now that Tyler is back on the show, instead of, as you guys just heard, as Tyler will hear when he edits this.
tried to keep me out of this conversation.
Right.
I will not be dissuaded.
We no longer have to speak for you as we did last segment. What are your initial thoughts as the actual Coloradoan on this podcast?
I'll try to water him down some. I don't know. I thought when it was announced, like maybe it would grow on me a little bit. I don't know. If it was a team in Boulder, I think Rocky Mountain Vibes is a fitting type of concept. And this is not something that really will matter to anybody outside of the local area. And I know that so many of these redesigns are done with a larger perspective in mind than just the local area. And this is something that was done with the entire state in mind, although I don't think, minor league baseball is really an institution that a state takes pride in necessarily. At least not a state with 4 major sports franchises, but it's just kind of odd to me. Like it doesn't really, the identity of Colorado Springs doesn't encapsulate what I think the cliche Rocky Mountain vibes, like what that whole stereotype of the state is. The one place in the state that does not identify with that, at least in the perspective of people who live here, or at least in terms of the people who live in Denver, the people that I know, the people that I've talked to, Colorado Springs is not that. So that kind of strikes me as interesting about it. I think we've also hit the point where the brands have all capitalized on putting the C from the Colorado state flag just haphazardly in anything and everything to capitalize on that and take a chunk of the revenue derived from just slapping the state flag onto things, which, hey, it's more power to you. If you're going to be able to do it and make money off of it, go for it. I know the Nashville Sounds did a thing, which I think was a little more inventively done with a home plate logo that included the 3 stars from the Tennessee state flag, which I thought was really cool because as they described it to me, it's home, so we put it in a home plate designed logo, and that's an instantly recognizable element of the Tennessee state flag. I thought that was kind of cool. Just slapping the C in the middle of Rocky Mountain, seems kind of obvious. But I would have liked Happy Campers. I think Happy Campers would have been great. I don't think it's that much of a mouthful. I think it flows way better than Big Mouths. I don't know. Vibes to me smacks of the late 90s craze of naming teams after abstract concepts. And that's just a little odd.
Right. That's something Ben and I talked about, trying to think of like other teams out there. I brought up the Utah Jazz. He brought up the Greenville Drive.
Yeah, exactly. We had a team here. There was a forerunner to the WNBA. We talked about this off air a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about this name. And they were the Explosion with an X. There was no E. It was just the Explosion. When the Avalanche relocated here from Quebec, there was apparently there were like trademark filings and everything. That team was going to be named the Rocky Mountain Extreme, which I believe just had an X also, which would have been the most 90s dumbest thing ever. Could you imagine nowadays in 2018 calling a team the Extreme? Like, just the dumbest. So this just kind of, I don't know, it smacks of that to me, which, whatever. It gets people talking, and as we know, that is the grandiose MO. As long as they get people talking, positively or negatively, they consider it a success. So the s'mores thing with the sunglasses. I mean, at least he's not swinging a bat. That's a new angle, I guess, logo-wise.
Well, one thing I'll give them credit for that Ben brought up that I really like, and I didn't say while he was saying it, was the idea of like this could create like a ballpark atmosphere that I think is going to be really interesting, not just like vibes, and like vibes is an atmosphere. Like the idea of it being like different sections of the park are designed around certain vibes and certain like camping aspects and that kind of thing it's just when you're a Pioneer League team, I feel like you need to do something that's going to draw people in that isn't the baseball.
And especially in a formerly AAA market that hasn't drawn well, doesn't have all the bells and whistles at the ballpark. Ballpark isn't centrally located. They do need to do something different.
Right. So I think this is a real opportunity for them to kind of tap into that. That's a full identity. It's not just a team name with some nice hats and some nice jerseys. I think there's a real chance to own it. Yes. Is that going to fit in with that community, like you said, which is a little bit more conservative, a little bit more militaristic? We'll have to see. Who knows? Maybe we'll talk about something else in the next 3 years if this doesn't quite work. But I think that can't be overlooked of what else is going to be involved in this other than just a fresh coat of paint and some new logos.
That's what genuinely surprises me. We talked about this off air a little bit, but and not to make this into a political thing, but if you're breaking down Colorado by red and blue, Colorado Springs is the deepest blood red part of the state, and it's home to the United States Air Force Academy and Fort Carson, and there's a lot of military installation. NORAD is in Colorado Springs. There's a lot of military installations. There's a huge military backbone to that city, and to not have gone that route, if you're going to try to monetize your product and draw people in from your local community, that's the most obvious demographic to target in Colorado Springs. And so that really surprised me. Just taking out the emotional element of being somebody who grew up here, went to Sky Sox games as a kid, and kind of, understands the area. Even if I was looking at it from New York City and had never been to Colorado and knew nothing about Colorado Springs other than that seems like the most obvious route to go. So to not go that way just kind of struck me as interesting. And I'm not saying that one is right or one is wrong, but you would think if it was just a concept of let's go at what's going to most closely capture the identity of the local community, that would have been it. I think this is a more regionally minded rebranding, and that's fine, and maybe it's going to go great. But I certainly it's a unique one.
It's a unique one, yeah. And between that and the Oakland Coliseum, not the Oakland Coliseum, but like the Oakland A's new stadium that came out today, and everybody's like, oh, well, this is different. We can all agree it's different. I'm kind of in for different now. Yeah. I will say that. Okay. I'm being creative, leaning into something that's not just cookie cutter in the mold, and like you said, an animal swinging a bat. Doing something a little outside of those lines, I'm kind of in on at this point. As long as it's not stupidly crazy. Different is good.
Hardball Talk described the A's renderings as Teletubbies meets Blade Runner.
Yeah, well, I think that was a little harsh. Yeah.
But I'm just bitter at the Pioneer League because the Casper Ghosts turned into the Grand Junction Rockies. Like, you could have kept the Ghost. That was the best logo, best uniforms, best name in minor league baseball. Grand Junction Ghosts would have flowed perfectly, and then to just rebrand them the Rockies and give them a kind of redesigned logo that features the Grand Mesa, which really just looks like the old Pizza Hut logo. I'm just bitter about that from the Pioneer League, so maybe that's bleeding over into my Vibes reaction. Bring back the Ghosts!
Well, you know what they say about ghosts. You kill them, but they come back.
Oh, man. He's Sam Dykstra. Now, our biggest thanks to Cole Tucker, big thanks to Benjamin Hill as well, and no thanks at all to Schmomcast Internet. He's Sam Dykstra. I'm Tyler Mon. Episode 186 in the books. We'll talk to you next week.